I'm not sure what happened, but apparently Elpress cut out, so we're going to have to
Okay, so we're gonna talk about like decks that have come out since the last cast. Yes.
Very briefly, we're going to talk about each set very briefly and how, if anything, they've done anything. So this is literally just going to be us walking through the decks, what they've done in terms of the Japanese scene, what they may or may not do in terms of the Western scene. That's all.
Okay, so Sao onwards or Konosuba onwards?
Sao onwards, because Sao speculations, yeah, at the time, yeah.
Okay.
I think Sao's okay. Sao's pretty good, I think.
Sao's solid, as it always has been.
Yeah.
It's the interesting to note is that don't be afraid to try red. I guess it's interesting. Yeah.
There's a few ways you can go about it, but like Yuki is just such a good card, I guess.
Yes.
I think
it's a definite build around.
Yeah, the fact it's unaffected by the Kimono Friends anti-burn for the most part is a real strength right now. And I think it's just always going to be a solid pick, never going to be bad.
The movie set's coming out soon too, right?
Yeah.
Also, pre-order your playsets. Pre-order your playsets on strategy.com or
Holy shit, dude.
All right,
okay.
What's next?
Konosuba.
Goddess.
Yeah, Konosuba. So the Goddess deck has done quite well in Japan.
The trios are
most represented deck.
Is it Neo or trios?
It's mostly Neo that it's had good results, but it's also had a presence in trios. Okay. Not like an overwhelming one. It's like I think it's a 5 to 6% cut is what it had, which is like that's relatively healthy. So the Goddess deck is the primary deck. Most people in the Western game will either net deck the Goddess lists. I strongly advise against getting Matsui's exact list because that list really, that's not a good list. If you want to play in the Western metagame, then either play like a refined Goddess list that aims to leverage advantage not just of triggering climaxes and tries to maximize the attacks of Eris early.
I will say, I just want to say that list is like the high, like it's such a high roll list. Like I look at it, it's like this guy like expects to high roll every single game, which is I could appreciate that sentiment. I think.
Oh, what are you, a Hearthstone streamer?
Yeah, like.
Yeah, man, variant sucks.
Oh well.
Yeah, I mean the same goes for the Magic list really, which is mostly lacking a finisher. In terms of like actual end game.
I mean,
a finisher that doesn't require you to high roll.
Finishers. It's just like they're not good finishers, I guess. They're not ideal finishers.
I mean, Goddess is really good if you high roll like a crazy person. Like that card's pretty.
Yeah, but then sometimes
you're gonna like high roll an entire day.
Reveals climaxes turn after turn.
That's like.
Or you could play a deck that doesn't need to sack to be good.
All right.
All right, that's all. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Chain Chronicle has done exactly nothing. Bang Dream has done probably too much. Like,
what's the popular?
Like too much for what it is.
I've only seen 2 different lists, and the first list is the one that uses the Saya, the one that gets the 1/0 red climax.
Okay, yeah, Tornado Sub.
And ending with just really generic cards. Or the glitter green stuff as the top end. Okay. And the other build I've seen is it uses the TD 1/1 and the 0/0 brainstorm to make walls. So
I don't like that build.
Yeah, I think that build kind of sucks. But yeah, it's done more than I expected it to. That might be because Japan is really, really gullible and eats up Bushiroad marketing, but it might be because they see something in the deck that we don't. Who knows?
The deck's better now.
Yeah,
that stupid PR.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's getting a new set, but not before WGP. So
yes.
The next set that came out was Love Live Sunshine Extra Booster. Butts and Coconuts here did like 18 hours worth of dialogue on that. So
yeah,
it is very viable now.
Yeah, it's a very good set. Does very good things, and low-key broken card is the 0035 Yohane.
Dude, I repped it day one. Yeah,
I do not care.
I always have to bring it up.
Okay, so Milky Home's got a joke pack. I don't think that did anything.
No.
Vivid
There's
Strike.
Oh
like-
wait. They're
Are
playing the
the-
1/1 Ellie, aren't they?
Are they?
Milky, yeah, they're actually playing the 1/1 Ellie.
What does it do?
It's like it's just gets power on level swap. That's it.
Oh.
It's like 1/0.
Oh, it's like
1/1
I
6K or
guess.
7K, and it gets 25 when you swap.
Okay.
It's a card they play. I don't think it actually did much for the deck. I don't.
I mean, that
I
just
don't-
sounds like. Ugh.
I don't think the representation changed that much either. So
Okay. Vivid Strike. It just dropped in Singapore with let's not talk about that build.
Well, I mean, most builds I've seen, like most Japanese builds I see online, tend to not even be the 8-bar deck for Vivid Strike.
Oh no, that's
Oh.
not even what I'm talking about. Like the Singapore build was 8-bar.
No, it was like 8-bar mono green, and it
with
it
2
had like
copies of the advanced summon.
yeah, it was like that deck was bad, but like I tend to see like bar door decks.
are they just doing a wall level one
Yeah, they do a wall
what?
level
Yeah,
one.
like
and they play-
and the salvage booster? Okay.
No, like they're playing the Vivio, the level 3 Vivio. Like
Yeah,
I see
they're
that
playing
card.
Right. I was just asking about the level 1 game plan.
I believe they're still playing like the
So either playing
I don't
Ironheart
remember her
or
name,
playing
the
6/5.
Shimikaze.
It's
Oh.
Ironheart 6/5s. That's what they play.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I
Um,
sometimes see blue red, but I don't. I very rarely see 8-bar, and they're not like the green blue 8-bar decks that I'm used to seeing that play like the blue stuff for Wish.
Yeah, Vivid Strike was pretty impactful. It was huge on the weekend of release, and it put up pretty pathetic results, to be quite honest. Like, it was a huge representation, and a tiny amount of that leaked into the top cut. That
Has
may
that
not
changed?
necessarily. That doesn't actually mean the deck is bad. That may just mean people weren't building it right, or people were playing it wrong, or a lot of beginners started with the deck. I don't know. Like, it could mean a number of things.
I do
But I
feel
think-
like it was poorly. I felt like in Japan it was poorly represented, like it's just in terms of like the deck's quality. I just think there was something better to be done. And I'm not saying that their builds are bad. I'm just saying I felt like I don't know why they just like it seems they gravitate towards this red thing, which just
No. What they did, they literally built the deck in order to try and be anti-Gochi Usa. So they literally tried to emulate the quote-unquote meta decks, and they did a worse job at it, and they didn't even capitalize on the best part about the deck, which is the 3/2 Fuka Advanced Summon. And that's my problem with their early lists.
That's fair.
I mean, early lists. Has that changed?
I haven't seen their list recently because it hasn't been topping as much.
They
I mean,
never
just from seeing like random lists on my
Brainstorm. Prisma Ilia. Refer to our set review for details, and then we
Good set.
have the big one. The big one that I put this section in to discuss. Kimono Friends.
Oh, I forgot about Kimono Friends. I thought the big one was going to be the Little Busters Brainstorm.
I'm not that. I'm not that.
Oh.
Although that is a really dumb card. Oh, we did skip Star Wars. Star Wars,
Oh.
the popular build in Japan is a really silly 4-color build. I can't work out why they're playing green. It seems to change from list to list.
It's so
But it seems to
weird.
be Java. It seems to be just like a top, and they splash the clock bomb layer, and they play Han level 1 combo, which I think is the best combo, into Vader level 3, which I think is cool, but it's all tied together by the fact that Brainstorm salvages anything. So I don't think that's a particularly strong deck, but it has been winning a lot in the hands of skilled players. So who knows? Who knows? Kimono Friends. So we're going to do a full set review and everything. That should come hopefully soon. But the early consensus is that it is a very serviceable deck. Yes? No? Maybe so?
I
I think
Kaban is a very good card.
yeah.
That one Kimono Friends now?
Yeah.
I feel like right
Uh,
now, like I don't know. It reminds me of when Konosuba first came out and people were having difficulty agreeing on builds and trying to find a good build. But I think there is a better deck in Kimono Friends as a set than there was in Konosuba.
Konosuba. Kono
I mean,
it reminds me of it reminds me of Log Horizon, except it actually has it synergizes better with its anti-burn, I guess. Like I understand, well, maybe it's just because Log Horizon sucked. Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not trying to directly compare it to Konosuba as like what the cards do. It just reminds me of the feeling of like watching other people try to tinker with the deck and try to find lists.
That's I like that comparison a lot actually, because I think Konosuba and Kimono Friends, although they're very different in terms of tier, I think they're two of the best design sets in Weiss in 2016, 2017 block. Like, they were two of the best design sets, and I would think Bushido, like, it's just, I know this has nothing to do with meta, it's just, if sets were designed more like those sets, I think the game would be insane, like, insanely fun. More so than it is now.
What do you think is good about Konosuba?
It's just the card quality is original, and it's like, there's a lot of viable strategies at each level. Like, it's not more, some more so than others, but there's just a lot of power cards. It's not spread out in the sense, like, some sets have power cards that are blatantly powerful that just shun every other card out, and it makes a standard list.
I think Sunshine was pretty good in that respect too.
But it was an EB, so you just had less cards in general.
Yeah, but it did exactly what it gave exactly
what you described. Yeah.
Yeah, to Sunshine.
Yeah, like it gave it.
I would agree with that.
Level 2 options, and yeah, it worked well with some of the old cards. I think Kimono Friends, just by existing, makes a lot of decks significantly worse, and several decks a lot better.
I mean, the thing about Kimono Friends is, even if there's a lot of different builds, I think the card quality is just such that most of the decks are just going to be functional and competent in the modern meta. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No matter how you slice it, it's going to do things.
All right. Anyone else have anything to add about Kimono Friends? No? Okay. Well, we have just I guess 2 more cards to talk about before we move on to an actual tier list. Haha, clickbait. Those cards are the Little Buster's Brainstorm and the Bang Dream Dual Searcher. Ooh. So Bang Dream got a Searcher that gets one of its 1/0s from the deck, and then it gets a 1/0 event, which the 1/0 combo needs to function. So that greatly ups the a lot of things about the deck. So the 1/0 event goes to hand, and it's a mill event, right?
Yeah, it's Operation Tornado.
Yeah. So it goes Operation Tornado. It mills some cards, and that sets up the level 1 combo, which salvages the mill event for whatever it's worth, and it fills up the graveyard for other synergies as well, and it's all on one card, and it's
costless.
Yeah, it's costless. It's a double discard out, which is like, you don't necessarily have to do both. You only have to do one if you're missing one or the other, and that's a really strong effect. Like, level 0, come and play, ditch a card, get your 1/0 combo is already like a pretty good card in just in a vacuum, and it's better in context because you can get the half you're missing, and it's only 4 slots at level 0 that you have to dedicate, which is really strong. Like, instead of having to bank on brainstorms or bank on drawing, you now get the combo every game, and that strengthens the deck a lot.
It's like an extension on your mulligan, because especially level 0, your hand isn't going to be especially great a lot of the time. So,
I don't know about extension on your mulligan. It means that as soon as you draw that level 0, your hand is fixed. Like, that's all it really means.
Yeah, that's pretty fucking good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the last card is Little Buster's Brainstorm. I mean, I could talk for a while about how this card fixes. Well, it doesn't really fix LB as much as salvage some of its really bad scenarios and give it extra advantage in the mid game, which is something it sorely lacked.
That's what fix means.
Sure, but the thing is, a lot of the time, Little Busters didn't need that advantage to begin with. It just didn't have it in the first place, and it doesn't need it necessarily. So yeah, okay, sure. I guess it fixed LB, and now it's.
I mean, it's still not going to be played.
this is true simply because
I
the
mean-
$400 price tag on those climaxes will make it so it's inaccessible to 99.9% of the Weiss playing population.
I also think that 99.9% of Filibusters players just gave up on the deck already.
I think just over 1,000, so less than any given alpha mythic, quote unquote alpha mythic.
And 2 souls.
Tabernacle being a one-off,
Ooh.
being 4. It's also
Oh, man.
So
it's a one-off.
2 souls aren't $400 anymore.
Yeah, they're probably cheaper, but you won't find them for sale much cheaper unless you get lucky. That's the thing.
Well, I guess Scott Cohen got lucky.
He must have. How many two soul sales do you see, really?
I mean, I sold to that guy, so 1. Total 1.
Okay.
Like
So let's there's one thing I want to talk about, which is something we talked about off cast, but I think it's pretty informative for a lot of people, myself included. Before we get onto the actual tier list, I want Penguin 420 here to talk a bit about his inside line to Japan and what they've been doing apparently since 2014. I find that hard to believe, but whatever, go on.
It's just been like around that era of Weiss, you know, the block of it's the block that's like around Kantai where decks just the power creep. There was like this huge power creep, right? Decks that were in Kantai, what they had to do to keep up was to figure out a way to tri-field and build more resources and more damage to opponents before they kind of like just completely locked them out. Like at the time, really good decks like Kantai Nisekoi kind of just couldn't lose after like level 1 because they just were better than every other deck, right? So people started tri-fielding, which is the one time where decks are like mostly homogenous, you know, in a sense. And so recently, like very recently, people here have adopted it finally, which is interesting to me because, I mean, Japan has been doing it for so long. They've been really successful with it, right?
Well, I mean, that's just a matter of them adapting to what they have, right? So if you have a bad deck and you're desperately trying to get it to work in a meta where Kantai exists, that makes sense. But I think most of the good decks didn't need to do that, or like they couldn't. There wasn't a need for them to do such a thing.
It wasn't so that they didn't need a need, but Japan realized Japan realized at some important point that people just grinded level 0 for value, but then like a lot of times you were winning games. And this will lead into what we talked about a little. A lot of times you won games with, say, 5 cards in hand. And let's say you dumped 2 of them out earlier at level 0. This is very abstract. Let me preface that. And made a tri-field play. Like, you're still winning with 3 cards left in hand, but now you pushed an additional 4 damage because they're open lanes, right? And when Japan, like, that 4 damage is a lot of damage. Let's be completely honest with that. Like, 4 damage is a lot of damage. If, like, that can be game-changing in an abstract sense. So, even beyond just tackling the other decks, even like with each other, like the fact that the person who tri-fielded got to push 4 extra damage level 0, but still had hand at the end. It was like, so even like content stuff ended up tri-fielding because they had the Inazuma, right, the best tri-field card I think that was ever printed at the time.
I mean,
wasn't it Cube? Wasn't it Cube?
Yeah, but Cube was like Madoka. So like Madoka was one of the best Madoka, Fate all became really.
No, I'm just saying Cube is better.
Yeah, Cube was better. Madoka in 2013 would routinely start tri-fielding around turn 2 to 3, depending on what the opponent had to answer their stuff. Like if for some reason they've got their Siam army to stick, they'd be tri-fielding turn 2, going first.
But the thing is, they wouldn't, because at the time, like in Madoka 2013, that was an era where people thought 2 Brainstorm was the way. Like you never played more than 2 Brainstorm, and so
that's true. Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
like,
no, you're
like,
right.
so,
You did.
It was a dual lane. Cube was really good, but it was regarded as the best dual lane card at the time, not a best tri-lane card.
Dual lane going second, and if you dual lane going second with that, then you got him better. Also, Railgun did tri-lane quite a lot during its very, very brief reign at the top. But I digress. Point is, like, Kantai was the ultimate early rush deck because your opponent could never stabilize, and that was just a big part of its strength. The other decks that really had that bonus, well, I don't even think Nisekoi was a good tri-lane deck. I don't think it had a good way to maintain advantage at all.
And that was like your only way to kind of beat it. You know what I'm saying? That's why people
No, I completely disagree. You tri-lane against Nisekoi, and they get a triple Marika off, you've probably lost the game.
No, but the thing is, like, okay, look, you like, at the same time when tri-lane became big, the concept of I'm not going to suicide your character also was a very new kind of concept. Like nowadays, it's gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna suicide that character, but like if you do use your Chitoge runner to suicide, now you're looking at one lane where you can't do Marika. Like there's just a lot of nuances at the time, and like people slowly got better at the game as these like.
Oh no,
right?
Okay, but that's got nothing to do with tri-fielding. I don't think Nisekoi was ever a good tri-field deck. Like that was just a nuance of the Nisekoi mirror. Like.
Yeah. I'm saying decks that played against Nisekoi. Like, if you tri-laned, it was your only way to win because you would actually just lose if you didn't do that. Like, I know that you can do 3 reverse combos.
No. That's completely wrong. The reason Nisekoi was so broken then was Onodera. That was literally the only reason Nisekoi just destroyed everything.
And that's why you have to tri-lane, right? So that's what I'm saying. You like have to tri-lane against Nisekoi.
No, but the thing is, if you tri-lane and then they cancel twice, which is not like impossible, you probably lose like right there and there.
That's even better because they can't do their market. They can't feed market. It's even better if they cancel because you build 3 stock and you have tri-lane. They also cannot kill your 3 tri-lane characters. It's actually like so much value for them to double cancel. Like you
what deck are you playing? What deck are you playing where you're tri-fielding against Nisekoi and being happy with any results?
Let's use a random. Let's use like what's a random deck that has some tri-lane potential. Let's use Set 1 Excel World with their pay 2 salvage on death. Like, if anything lives, you actually had a shot at a time when Nisekoi was just too strong. Like, no, you have just an abundance of resource now.
Now you're playing. Look, that's not a good thing because Excel World back then had no recourse except to tri-lane because it had no other game plan.
Yeah, like, well, that's what I'm saying. You cannot beat a deck, so you have to find a way to beat it. And Japan found it in tri-fielding.
That's not how you beat Nisekoi. You beat Nisekoi just by playing Nisekoi.
But like, dude, Weiss Schwarz, like, it's a casual game in Japan. Like, if you want to play Excel because you love Kuroki Hime, don't tell that guy to play Nisekoi, man.
So, okay, if it's a casual game in Japan, why do we even take Japan seriously? That's the real question.
Well, I'm explaining why people will try to, because, like, you have to rationalize a way for your casual deck to be able to play. And
okay, so that's not actually a meta statement then. What you said was
it's a very meta statement because so like
he's saying as a result of the experimentation with their shitty decks, they found out that these tactics were effective even amongst the top tier decks.
It's the only way you can have a chance to beat the top tier decks.
Right, but would you say that tri-fielding isn't just beneficial if your deck can sustain that?
I mean, it's like one of the only reasons why I like and I have to do it. It's my quota. But like terraformers can like compete at all. It's just like 1-2 event to tri-field for free, basically, and like slam a 2-soul, call it a day.
Oh my god! Why roaches?
Nisekoi tri-fielding was not a good strategy if you also playing Nisekoi, and if you weren't playing Nisekoi, you weren't trying to win. That's the thing. Like in that era, exactly Kantai and Little Busters were the only other decks you would ever think of taking if you want to win. Oh, and maybe Love Live if you want to do the 3-7-5s game plan, but that wasn't particularly consistent. Like they were the only decks you take if you were trying to win.
You could put Rider in that metagame.
Could you? I don't.
Didn't Rider top one randomly?
Yeah, Rider was still playable in that metagame. The issue with Rider is that you didn't have a reasonable top end at all at the time. But like,
you didn't have a reasonable way to get your 0/0s. You had to play like
you played the fucking 1-0 blue combo caster to be able to find them,
which gave you access to the 3/3 event, by the way.
Okay, so
Rider was a playable deck.
Well, okay, just say Nisekoi is an exception, a big exception, but like you could say
detours aside. Right now, tri-fielding is good everywhere because lots of decks can sustain it. Konosuba rewrites are the 2 biggest examples I would use, maybe ReZero. Like
Sunshine too.
Sorry?
Sunshine as well.
Yeah, sure, Sunshine. These decks all tri-field with regularity, and that's part of their game plan now. Like, it's not just opportunistic. And up until like maybe around Osamatsu or so, tri-fielding every game was not good. Like, you would only tri-field opportunistically in every deck that wasn't unbanned Kantai. And I'm sticking with that perspective.
Well, you could do it with Fate. You could do it with Monica.
Actual.
Yeah, exactly. Like.
Well, Monica was an actual deck back then. What?
It wasn't very good now.
I remember back in maybe 2015, some guy was trying to make his cell list sustain early tri-fields. That was just something he was trying with like a pay 2 on death salvage Lisbeth. And I told him that tri-fielding at level 0 was so bad that every time he did it, he would lose the game. That is something I told him. I sometimes think about that and feel silly, but I don't think I was wrong at that moment.
At that time, I think it was very reasonable to say something like that, because if that was your main game plan and you put that ahead of doing anything else, it's exactly like what we talked about before, when you're saying that Goat user can just dual lane in order to get their burst off. It's the same idea as that. You're not winning the game that way. Like, you have to adapt.
I do think, like, I'm not trying to pick any like argument. I just do think that statement is wrong. I think I actually do firmly believe in any deck. If you can make an argument and a compelling one to tri-field, it's always better than to not to. Barring playing around something and saying like a deck that must do its reverse combo to win or something like, but because maybe the issue with what you told him with the pay 2 salvage Lisbeth is that there was a better pay 1, take a damage, search a level 2 or higher Ricky that costed 1 to tri-field so you could save a stock.
So here's the thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with tri-fielding right now. My views back then are definitely a byproduct of how I learned the game and who I learned the game from, and me not letting go of those ideals for a long time, because I didn't really tri-field at all at 0 until last year. There was just something in my head that told me it was really bad.
The only decks that used to tri-field were exactly like Madoka because of QB and I guess Fate, but that deck didn't really exist up until UBW1. In 2014, that all changed, or whenever Kantai was released. Like, Kantai was a tri-field
Fire
deck.
Nation attacked.
Yeah, the Nation attacked.
But like I don't want to retroactively argue whether it's right or not, because I don't know if arguing and trying to defend my ideals from a few years ago is even something I want to do.
Okay, yeah, but
okay, now, all right. I just want to jump ahead. The other thing you talked about was that they would stop clocking at level 1, and instead use 2 stock for their pluses.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like actually, like using Akashi versus clocking is like the same plus, but one uses stock and one uses the damage. And like, I personally love clocking more so than losing 2 stock. Because I think like clocking versus using 2 stock is like literally a deficit of like 3 card compression after that refresh, right? Per time you do the difference.
Isn't it 2 cards? Like, you're talking about the delta. You're talking about the delta. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
And it's like, correct me if I'm wrong. It's some number. It's 3, 2, whatever. I'm just going really fast. Is it 3? It's something.
The deficit, I think, is 2, but whatever.
You go -2 compression every time you use Akashi, I think. No, -1.
It's -1.
-1, yeah. Because you search a clean card, then you pay 2 stock. Yeah.
It's just it's interesting to me. I think it's an interesting dynamic because what they basically argue is that, look, if I didn't clock these 7 extra times to get this hand size, because I ended this game, I lost, I had 7 cards in hand. Now let's say I ended the game with 3 cards in hand, I literally saved myself on 4 damage, which is like abstractly true. Alf, we were arguing off call, and he said that that's just completely fallacious. But I think in an abstract sense that is very. But I can rock with that thought process, Like,
would you use that thought process yourself?
I wouldn't, but
why
I
not?
don't fault the thought process because.
Sure, but why wouldn't you use that thought process in your own like self-improvement?
Because it's like that guy in the dark room, right? Who no one believes, like, if you go out of the room, that parable. And it's like I kind of see the. Never mind. I don't know what the hell the parable is, but or the philosophical thought experiment is. But like, anyways, ignore what I just said. Like, the thing is, like, I think the 3 card compression it's what I value. Like, if you had the thought process with Japan, one thing you definitely are completely discouraging is the idea that kind of compression exists that contributes to your cancels, right? The main argument here is, does compression actually contribute to your cancel? And the answer is yes. Like that's almost like that's a mathematical objective. Like, so that's why I don't use that thought process. But if you think that, you know, in a very specific game it doesn't matter that much, then the thought process, you know, it can make some sense. Because you know where I'm coming from with that? Like, that's the difference.
Sure, it's not as data driven. It's just a.
I think it's very reasonable to think that if I clocked 3 less times, I would have taken 3 less damage. Like,
it's a reasonable.
I think that's a conclusion you could easily come to, but like I don't know if that's like the right conclusion.
It's a stupid conclusion. You are
no, but like there's like a logic thing that like you can connect the two events in your head, right?
Yeah, that's like.
I mean, that's what makes this game a little bit difficult, because, you know, it's so easy to connect certain events together and use those as, you know, as a causation thing, but, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm going to stop clocking at 1 now or whatever to try to save damage, but I understand, like, UA, are you trying to say that you can see where they make that link between that, or like what are you trying to say by talking about this?
Yeah, it's just
But like, do you agree with them?
No, he just said he doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't agree, but at the same time I wouldn't criticize it, is what I'm saying.
Oh no, I definitely criticize it.
I think you could definitely criticize it. Like,
I think that it's reasonable.
Maybe criticize isn't the word you was looking for.
There's probably, what's the better word? Like, I wouldn't fault them for having that thought. Maybe fault.
You're trying to be way too PC here. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna condemn them for that particular bit of logic.
Oh, fire!
It's real stupid.
No,
like what they're doing is they're taking a loss, and then they're justifying it in a way that they can't possibly calculate. They're like, oh, I had 6 cards in my hand when I lost this game. If I had clocked 6 less times, I would be at 3-2. Do you see how
it's completely it's abstract and imprecise and inaccurate? I agree, 100% agree with you. But the reason I don't condemn them is this. Look, I want to give a shout out to my econ professor in 2nd year, Lanny's Real, because
is he watching this?
Your econ professor is not going to watch this unless you.
There's a point to this. His PhD and his research revolves around his entire research is why certain kind of fallacious beliefs in economics actually deviate towards the economic reality. And I've talked about this many times with you guys in like private conversations and everything. The whole idea of like his theory of, and it's a complete whole, like you look at data and people with fallacious beliefs on how to handle economic processes in companies tend to deviate towards the results of the actual economic event. And so Japan having this belief, the reason why I don't fault them, condemn them, or anything is because there's a flicker of truth that this professor's theory holds in their belief that what they do probably could deviate towards a mean very similarly to building compression. It actually very well might. You know what I mean?
It turns out if everyone is wrong, then wrong becomes right. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, not at all. Like not at all. Like the point being that by making these fallacious beliefs that are logically, mathematically, theoretically fallacious, it causes other things that cannot be considered and fathomed in a very large and complex sort of simulation that actually help to deviate towards the same mean, right? That's his theory. And
well, that's the idea. If you take an assumption and then you work with the assumption, then guess what? There's going to be, on average, more players who subscribe to the don't clock at level 1 and winning, because there's literally just going to be more players doing it. That's just how it works. Like, the reason, what I'm trying to say is, if you spread a belief enough, then it'll eventually become a lot more like reality, because that's what population sizes are. That's what sample sizes are. Look at religion. Like, that's just how things are.
Too philosophical, man. I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
That's literally how metagames evolve, right? Like, if you get to a certain point where everyone believes that a certain thing is true, then like you have to build your decks to beat what everyone else is doing. If you look at, specifically in Magic, it's like a huge thing in Magic Legacy scene, where if you look at like the metagame in 2013 in Europe versus the metagame in America, you're seeing completely different decks. That's why you got stupid deck names like Team America, because the whole point of playing Team America was that you're playing cards that only Americans played.
Yeah, like that's exactly how it works. Yeah, your econ professor was entirely correct, but that doesn't mean we can't criticize the base issues. We can't. That doesn't mean I'm not going to criticize Japan for playing Monogatari after it's however many bans. Like that doesn't mean I'm not going to do that.
I don't think UA was saying you shouldn't crit. Like I don't think that was the right word he was looking for. It was more like It's more like.
Like, what Japan is doing isn't wrong for their internal metagame, and I'm not saying that's a problem, but I'm saying, like, depending on how you're valuing certain parts, like, you can't say that the conclusions the Japanese have reached is necessarily correct. And you shouldn't necessarily try to rationalize incorrect routes to that decision.
Look, there are fundamental bits of, like, there is circumstantial stuff that supports all this. For example, you can argue that unlike in games such as Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic, you cannot truly stabilize, which is, self-contradictory with how the Japanese people play. But point is, since you can't stabilize, life is worth that much more. There is a reason to try and stop clocking. Like, there are arguments for it. Don't think we haven't thought about them. It's just, they're all inconsistent with one another. This assumption assumes that you're not going to be prey to erroneous variance, which is not something you can really assume with Weiss because you're tested for variance so much. And in that vein, like, I guess what I'm saying is Japan is not consistent with itself in this. If they aim to tri-field all the time, then they're going to need more resources, and therefore you can't afford to stop clocking at one unless you want to make a lot of, unless you want to make every resource except damage lessons, like lessen the effectiveness, and use stuff like Akashi, then you can't stop clocking at level 1. Unless you want to set yourself up at level 2 to have cards to set yourself up for the end game, you can't stop clocking because having 2 Rises on field and a support just opens you up to being blown out if the rest of your cards in hand are 2 cards. You'll be brainstorming next turn. If you don't hit your brainstorm, you lose the game.
That's why I think Japan's play is very weak in the Western world. But say everyone is doing it like that, you actually don't feel punished as much, right? So it's just like Will said, it's like I think that's why I'm just trying. You can, I don't know. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm sure you can understand where I'm coming from. And I think this conversation was very interesting, but I think it's probably.
So a question about the Akashi thing. Which modern deck since Monogatari ran Akashi with regularity? Because I actually don't know of any recent deck that actually runs Akashi now.
But I used Akashi as the example. So
you meant?
Gosh.
No. It's like
sure.
Right now, Akashi's replacement is like brainstorming in the tap self brainstorm.
Okay.
Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, he brainstormed twice. Okay.
That's like a thing that I really like abusing with particularly Star Wars, and I can see why Star Wars might be good in a Japanese metagame then if everyone's just trying to slam 2 brainstorms in the back rows, that Star Wars has an efficient way to remove back rows.
Guilty Crown.
I'm not saying Guilty Crown doesn't, but Star Wars gets it for free because that keyword is free.
Guilty Crown doesn't, right?
It explains the Persona 5 thing, right? Yeah. They can brainstorm twice with the Jokers.
Double brainstorm is like a better Akashi because on a mathematical average it hits more than just page search.
Also, Star Wars does get the double brainstorm as well.
Yes. Okay. Look, let's move on to the actual tier list because I'm sure that's what everyone's actually been waiting for.
I just thought that was a pretty intriguing discussion. It reminded me a lot about listening to people talk about running Upstart Goblin in your deck before Goblin was broken.
Yeah, I mean, Patrick Hoban, the Legend 27, was quite.
Have you read his book? His book is like, oh boy.
Dude, we're name dropping everyone.
No, but I just thought that was interesting because I don't know. Who knows where the game will be in 3 years? I guess it's like there was a point where I'm sure a lot of people playing Yu-Gi-Oh were convinced that you would never play Upstart Goblin to make your deck 37 cards, and now Upstart's at 1. It's like, oh, okay.
Something about Gitaxian Probe and how it's basically banned in every format now.
Not banned in Legacy, is it?
That's the only one. That's the only format where it's not restricted in any way. And
it's restricted in Vintage too.
Oh, it's restricted to
it's at one in Vintage.
But like nothing is really banned in Vintage unless it's like a Dexterity card or an Anti card or
Cards,
Scheherazade.
Yeah. Right. Let's do this tier list thing. So in the wake of Kimono Friends, I think that every deck that you know what? Before we do that, let's clarify what this tier list is for. So this tier list.
Just say it, Alf. Guardian's the best.
Yeah. I legitimately did it. I don't think it's close. Right. So this list.
Oh, sorry.
Let him define the list.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the tier list. It is a list of decks that you can. It's an ordered list of decks where you can take these decks to your local metagame, your local store, and expect to do well, assuming that you're piloting it properly and that you are playing someone of reasonably equal skill. So it's kind of like a tournament recommendations list. It is not a list based on data. It is not a list for any specific one metagame. It is sort of a universal metagame list because we're talking to an English-speaking audience. Our metagame is literally all around the world and diverges significantly from the, dare I say, very inbred Japanese metagame. For that metagame, it's very easy to show what's top tier in Japan. You look at results. For a wider metagame, you have to start thinking about what decks you'd rather take. And in that vein, I'm going to start off and say Guardian is the best deck right now.
I think LB is close.
Yeah, I think Guardian is the best.
But LB is close. I really do.
Guardian's good. Like, it should be seeing play again in Japan, right? Theoretically.
Yeah, both variants. Well, no, probably just the Kotori variant. But they're...
Well, like, with Gochi Usagon, if they stop making these stupid wall decks, then Shizuru gets better, right? That's like the idea.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
I think the idea is that it's just unaffected by Kimono, and Kimono.
I mean that too, but like, isn't like siding pucks with Shizuru's like super feels bad?
They're not going to hit level 1 before you.
Well, I think most of the Japanese lists weren't actually running the clock bond, right? They weren't maxing on the clock bond or the gloves counter in most lists.
The Japanese lists.
Okay, well, sure. Yes, Guardian controls exactly when it wants to hit level 1. And in most scenarios, the Shizurus will hit the board before any wall gets set up for the opponent, basically.
Okay, that's fair.
It doesn't lose any matchups that were like previously super good, and it just gained what I consider a very good matchup in Kimono Friends, because Kimono Friends can't do jack to rewrite if they just have like 2 Shizurus and something like.
And a restand focused game plan is actually really funny against 3/2 Shizuru.
Yeah, like okay,
burn twice.
I'll burn you again.
Burn
like
and
that. I feel like that was already one of the optimal plans for Guardian, which was to not burn on your turn if they're at 3-0, but wait for your opponent to run their cards in so you can start hitting them when they're at 3-2 instead, which I think is just a lot stronger. And that is exactly how you're going to play against Kimono Friends, and they're going to have no recourse against you, like, at all.
What was I going to say? I think Kill a Kill is one of the few decks that has a positive win rate against Guardian. Like, it can have a positive win rate. Like, Kill a Kill is pretty solid against this deck, though. I don't know what that means for Kill a Kill's placement.
What does Kill a Kill really do against? Well, let's fill out the rest of the top tier first.
Can we take off Frog Fractions?
We have to. All right, PSA, go play Frog Fractions, baller game.
Unless Frog Fractions is code name for Railgun.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Oh, thank God. I never thought I'd not be the one to be typing Little Busters there, but I think Little Busters it was already on the cusp. Like,
I agree with this for once.
Like, its only bad matchups were things that just kind of machine gunned it to death, or that decks, or like people that basically stuck it at level 1. Because if it's stuck at level 1, then it's forced to clock, it's forced to use Rickies again and again, and it's forced to have climaxes to keep up in the damage race. And make no mistake, Little Busters is an aggro deck. The current build for Little Busters that I've been championing is one that I considered bad about 2-3 years ago, but now is exactly how you should be playing it, which is maxing out on money counter, maxing out on the 2-1 Rin, and aiming to get at least 2 money counters a game. And the brainstorm that we just got, the draw 2 ditch 1 Kirito brainstorm, makes this a much better play, because not only do you sustain the mid game and have more characters to play instead of needing to like clock your money counters, but you can now draw into money counters, draw into climaxes, and basically have another discard out as well, which is you want to compress at the same time, which is, it makes Little Busters a really dumb deck that you're never going to play against, but like,
I think the anti-change counter is an important part of the equation as well.
Yeah, so Little Busters stock charges a crap ton, which means that it has a 2-1 pay 3 anti-change counter, and that is in essence your 5th and 6th anti-change counter. So
you mean anti-damage?
Anti-damage.
That's what I mean, yeah. It's your 5th and 6th anti-damage counter, because pretty much no deck right now, except Western builds of Guardian, will not field level 3s to level 2, and Little Busters itself. So it's very well positioned. It has anti-heal, which is super strong. And it also still has game against Kimono Friends in that it has a superior anti-damage. It can't be affected by its tap counters. And it has clock kicks anyway. So it just has game against everything right now. I wouldn't advise you to go out and drop $600 on the deck just because we say it's great. But if you do like LB, if you do have some cards lying around, then certainly consider it. Like, it's... I say it all the time that it's a really strong deck, but for once, I think I'm super justified in calling it a top-tier deck that it hasn't been this high since literally Nisekoi era, where it was one of the only viable decks.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago now.
Yes. I think we can safely put decks like ReZero here as well. What do you guys think?
I don't know about that.
In S tier, I don't
know about that.
I mean, like,
we don't have a lot of slots in S tier, to be honest. If you want to take Gochi-Usa and risk Kimono Friends coming against you and beating you, someone could definitely make a really good run with Gochi-Usa. Let's say that much.
I don't even know if it's S tier. Like,
I wouldn't say that either.
I think Sunshine can have a very compelling argument in the same light as LB to be in here. Like, I think they're very.
No, I don't think so.
I do think so.
I don't think so.
I wish Sunshine had something like money counter.
We're just talking about as a point of reference. This list is referring to Swiss.
Sunshine has no specific way to attack the meta in a way that hurts people really hard.
Sunshine's like an aggro deck that doesn't aggro very well.
It just wins games by being like at the time. Like it just means.
But it can't shut the door.
It's harder than Little Busters. It hits harder than Little Busters, and it's not even like.
Pluses more, but it doesn't have a way to like actually shut the door in any given game, like Little Busters can. That counts for a lot. If we're assuming people are competent and they're playing good decks, good players or whatever, like you can plus more, but if you can't end the game.
I do want to say that one thing Sunshine has going for it that LB doesn't is that you do have that agency thing where if your opponents aren't like quote unquote as good as you can maybe outplay them more with Love Live Sunshine, whereas LB it's really up in the air. If you value that at all, then you might consider Sunshine above LB.
I'm not saying it's above or below, but I think it's in the if you had to pick an S tier type situation, like sorry, it says S tier. I thought you meant like top 5 type situation. Maybe not S tier, but like definitely like I don't like the term S tier even. I just want something that's like 5. Like if S tier
you could call it tier 1 then.
Yeah, like S tier. If S tier was like top 5 decks, like.
No. S tier is just. These are arbitrary separations. They're levels basically. We can have an A+ tier if we need to.
Let's not restrict ourselves to numbers.
Because I think S tier assumes that it's like these two decks
we're already using fucking letters for this.
Right,
it's already arbitrary.
Not to draw Hearthstone into this, but like Druid before nerfs was S tier, being like literally the deck was Druid was unbeatable for like most decks. That's not the case.
I don't know about unbeatable.
The Druid made up every deck in tournament. If it didn't ban Druid, it lost. Like it went 0-3. If it didn't in Conquest, if it didn't ban Druid, it was just wrong. Like that's how good the deck was. Like,
I just don't think Sunshine is on the same level as the Busters at all, though.
I think my only point is I think there are decks that can fight Jade Druid. The problem is like one of the decks is still Druid.
Okay. So what you are saying was that Nisekoi, unbanned Nisekoi in that era, where Kantai had been banned, Nisekoi was the only S tier deck.
Yeah.
And you had like 3 viable decks in A tier, and then everything else was worse. That's what you're.
I'm just like I don't know. Maybe it's right to put these 2 in S tier, but like I think it's more compelling to say like a A plus or
if just call it tier 1.
Well, I mean, it's so arbitrary, right? Because like, what does S tier mean?
Yeah, but by having something with 2 decks being S tier, it makes it slightly less arbitrary. It just makes it more specific, saying these 2 are clearly the best decks, and I think there's 5 that's like a toss up because. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on this one. I don't know. Like tell me I'm wrong. It's one of those things where you gotta tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, like this stuff doesn't even need to be tiered. We just have to list good decks that people could consider for the WGP season. Is that the purpose of this segment?
Yeah. My assumption is that this tier list is being made with the intention of playing Swiss, right? So like,
Swiss Neo Standard.
No, Swiss Neo Standard non-trios.
Let's not talk about
it. Doesn't change.
It doesn't change. You play the deck that gives you the best chance to win.
No. You don't do that. If the goal is to win a tournament, you play the deck that gives you the highest win rate against the deck supposed to be the best deck.
Yeah.
There doesn't change very from Swiss, the top cut.
It does. It actually does.
In this game, it doesn't.
Matchups.
That's what I'm saying.
Matchups shouldn't change. Like that's not how it goes. This is like grassroots modern in that you can't really predict.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get an accurate enough mapping on a metagame. I agree, but like if the whole point is to give yourself the best chance to win the tournament, you have to like think if these are the best decks, what decks beat the best decks, and do those have any common weaknesses? You want to play that deck.
That case, we have to put Kimono Friends in S tier, right?
Yeah, and that's fine. If you consider Kimono deck Friends to be a meta-defining deck, I think that's worthy of being an S tier.
I think it's meta-defining. I don't think it's like broken. That's the thing. I think it's a difficult deck to play. I think it doesn't actually have.
If the entire metagame has been warped by Kimono Friends, in my mind,
we don't even know if it has been yet.
Then
that's the thing.
I feel like then you're getting a little bit preemptive with things like Guardian Little Busters too. Then.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think that's fair.
Then why are we using these lettered tiers? Let's call it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And
I mean, but like,
it's just
number tier. Is number tier any different?
It's just as arbitrary.
Tier 1, tier 2 being the same thing.
Okay, then just drop the tiers, and we'll just talk about really good decks that people will play for WGP.
There's nothing wrong with being wrong, though. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. What if we just leave it like this, and if we were wrong, that's an interesting thought experiment for next time.
Okay.
So, I mean, it doesn't matter. Like,
it doesn't matter.
I think we're going to list good decks regardless. Yeah. It's just people get hung up on labels and tiers. It's so weird.
My mind is.
And let's just have these decks up there, man.
As far as I'm concerned, tiers are as much a byproduct of representation as well as strength. Like that's the only way you can like get an idea. Because like you can think a deck is the best deck in the format, but if no one's playing it, you don't have to consider it.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like Little Busters. It literally is Little Busters is the prime example here.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's why I'm saying this is not a data related. This is not a data related.
This is not exclusively data related. But if we're talking about a metagame as a whole, you do have to consider how decks are positioned in the metagame. If you think Kimono Friends is going to be 20-30% of the field, then that is also a field where Guardians and Little Busters is good. But it also means that decks that are good against Guardians and Little Busters will also be good.
There are no decks like that.
That's the thing. There aren't really decks that are good against these.
Well,
that's why we're saying these decks are up here.
I mean, the argument being that okay, but that's up for debate. I think Little Busters is really, really good. There's not a lot of decks that actually can, Little Busters are really,
and I'm not saying they're not bad decks. Like, they're obviously good decks, right?
No, but your point is facilitated on these decks that don't exist.
But like,
these decks are literally up here because we don't think there's decks that actually consistently have good matchups against these decks. That's why they're up here.
Right? In my mind, I still feel like, to an extent, like, Two Lover was still decent against Little Busters.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. No. No.
Only for now.
Are you having a good time there, Yue?
Oh my god, I fucking lost it.
Okay, so I think the most, I don't know, like, what are decks that people don't think are good but think they'll see played? Because I think that's also worth discussing. Not good isn't a good way of putting it.
Anything with idols. Just like generically
Cinderella Girls?
Anything with
idols. I literally think that Railgun is something that should be on people's radars. Like power-up pack decks, like Railgun and Kill a Kill. I think those decks are definitely played enough
Yeah,
that you should be aware of them.
Up to be A tier though.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like you could put Kill in A and Railgun in B.
Yeah.
But I think those are decks worth putting.
No,
on
I think
list.
Railgun's A.
I think Railgun is A as well. It's actually
Okay.
got some against some decks.
No, that's fine. It's
Tiers,
just
not when your tiers were by Kimono Friends. Railgun cannot be A. Railgun is super like
Railguns look.
No,
Railgun's
they have the anti-event. They have the anti-event. What does Kimono Friends? What does Tap Gun do against Railgun?
The thing is, Railgun is just, dude. You guys have played Railgun, and if I can't even begin to express, anyone who doesn't play Railgun enough will think the deck looks really good on paper, but the deck actually just caves.
No. What I can. So a lot of people tell me the only way to play Railgun is to drop like a bunch of advanced summons. I think that's wrong. I think Railgun is modally a compression deck, and it's actually a really good compression deck.
yes.
And that's just something I don't ever see anyone bring up. And like that doesn't it doesn't confuse me so much as I don't know. I play Railgun a lot more conservatively than most people, and I've been told that I'm wrong for doing so. Maybe I am, but
I think it's matchup dependent when you want to go fucking crazy with early plays.
Yeah, like some people say you drop 2 early plays every single game. I'm not really of that opinion. You can't really contest opponents' early plays that easily with Railgun, but at the same time, I don't think you need to a lot of the time. You can just.
I think there. I don't think we're disagreeing on anything, but I think there are times when you can play Railgun straight as a compression deck, and then I think there's times where it's really advantageous for you to just destroy their field.
How about we have like 2 separate parts of A tier? I think Kill is firmly above Railgun in terms of decks that I would want to take to WGP. Like it's.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be variance within these tiers, right? Maybe not S tier because S tier is so small. But like, if we're gonna have like a tier of 12 decks, there's obviously going to be variance within the tier.
I mean, frankly, like as far as I'm concerned, you can have like 15 decks in this section. It doesn't matter. Like, you can have your levels. It doesn't really matter. But like, I don't know. It's just it's a weird metagame thing though, right? Like, I don't know. Our assumption is that Kimono Friends will be popular. But like, my question is, if Kimono Friends is the thing that shuts out these other decks, what was keeping Guardian down before?
Nothing.
Nothing. Representation of other decks was keeping it down. So it has to share a slice of the pie, right? With these decks that are good, like Ochiusa, that were being played.
Guardian was really good before. Like.
Yeah, of course. It was still getting representation.
It's kind of like imagine like a hypothetical, like these decks all have a 50-50 matchup, but suddenly Kimono Friends kills, like just arbitrarily, but then suddenly Kimono Friends kills the 50-50 matchups to the point that they don't get played. So the one that still gets played that has the 50-50 matchup becomes the S tier deck. It's kind of like that.
Usually metagames don't end up playing out that way.
I know, but in the magical wasteland that we're theorizing in this tier list right now, that's what is theoretically the play out, right?
Like, usually speaking, like if a deck shows up that just murders a deck from a metagame, it doesn't always turn out that the previous metagame's best decks stay the best decks. It doesn't. And that's mostly a byproduct of you have fewer other decks to consider, so you can spend more time teching for things that are good against Guardian. And, like, I'm not familiar with Guardian builds because I don't play as much as I used to, but I find it hard to imagine that Guardians is in a position where it has literally no weak points that you can't try to abuse.
Its weakest point in the game is at level 1, but
it's a non-interactive combo.
Yeah, like.
I mean, I'm not very experienced with Guardian myself, but a number of games I've played, it just felt like I didn't have like cards in hand to play the game. So I don't know. Like, to me, I feel like that Guardian's in its best position. This is purely speculatory about listening to you guys talk about it, looking at the cards, trying to watch other people play. I feel like if somehow Guardian just gets like pushed a level every turn, it doesn't have time to like set up in a way it wants to. I feel like that the deck wants to get advantage at level 2 with these massive 2/1s that won't die. But like if it doesn't get a good enough game where it gets like advantage of multiple turns of Lucia, I feel like the deck might be in like a pretty bad position. It feels.
You mean Shizuru?
No, the 2-1.
Oh, sure.
No, my point is, I feel like my bad games with Guardian are more so due to variance than something my opponent is doing. I don't know.
Sure.
My stance is, if you're going to play in a tournament, like, I don't think variance is an argument. If your goal is to win the tournament, you just want to play the high roll decks.
Yeah, I'm not using variance as a argument. I'm just saying, like, I'm not sure what stuff counters Guardian. It's just like, you just make a bunch of stock.
Don't put Star Wars in the
these
tier list. You literally
cards.
can't play at a WGP.
Good point.
Like, I mean, like, as much as I like Star Wars, you literally can't put it on WGP. If this is a tier list for WGP, you cannot play it.
Nice.
I mean, Riaz played a lot of Guardian. Riaz plays a lot of Guardian. I mean, I mean, if he probably has a thought on this. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I mean, like, with Guardian, it just feels like its worst matchup is its own deck. Like, sometimes the hand sculpting it gives you is not as precise as other decks, and it just, like, the fact is most of your pluses are coming from Magi, unless you hit the Brainstorm salvage of running it. And it just feels like if you don't get what you need in time, you fall apart as the game goes on. You have to try to recover. But, like, I mean, this is the main issue. Like, its hand sculpting isn't as great as other decks.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's maybe a better way of trying to say what I was trying to say.
Okay, so it's a high roll deck then.
So
right? That's what we basically established. Rewrite Guardian's the kind of deck that would bring to a tournament with,
So how does
with the
this
goal of either going
translate-
0-3 or winning the whole thing. That's perfectly reasonable.
So how does this translate to an attackable weakness of the deck?
In a tournament setting,
No,
that wouldn't be considered a tangible weakness. What it would consider is that when you're talking about like a long scale tournament, you're not going to always win, right? Like you will lose a lot of games to itself. And when that's the kind of thing that you're planning for, then ultimately like your tournament you're basically saying, am I high rolling today?
Yeah, it's like the idea of playing something like that where you might suffer like a really bad game due to
Just
your
variance.
deck's shortcomings.
But
or
you're
variance.
unfavored to win if variance kicks you in the ass with any deck. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Oh wait, so,
I don't
so
think
now-
we're
now-
trying to call Guardian bad.
Now we're establishing a different set of rules. If the goal is to win a tournament, you shouldn't. Variance is not a factor in your deck choice. It isn't.
You assume you run hard.
Right.
Like, you assume
Like,
you're going to win.
Because if you're trying to win a tournament, you have to run hot. Right.
So
like,
let's
period.
not talk about this fallacious nonsense where
Well, I'm just bringing it up as a thing of I don't know if the deck has an attackable weakness.
Well, like I can't really pinpoint an attackable weakness about the deck. Like it
then
like
it's S tier.
it has
and-
to me it has no
I'm-
weakness.
I'm trying
I'm
to
just-
support
yeah.
why it could be S tier, and I'm trying to say like that's
Dude,
probably like
I keep saying its attackable weakness is kill a kill, but no one seems to even like.
Okay, then
well
okay.
why
anyway,
why is it
then explain
kill,
why.
kill?
Explain
So-
why kill a kill.
It's a very okay. Look. The reason why Kill la Kill has a definitive strength is that when Kill la Kill builds a very strong compression point, even burn twos have a unlikely point of killing Kill la Kill. However, Kill la Kill on like a two, and furthermore, Kill la Kill in the current build I played, the Tactical Guardian plays like 3 or 4 copies of the cheese, which you grab off the early play to cheese your Musashi, so you cannot possibly die to the Guardian deck. And if the Guardian deck also cannot heal, you basically have 2 turns to kill them. Like
Hang
you
on.
you
Wait,
also
wait.
have 2 turns to kill them.
You're attacking.
There's
each of them.
basically no point at which Kill la Kill goes to compression where burn twos are not likely to go in.
By the way, Siloden B is here. He woke up.
Dude, you can't burn to the Kill la Kill deck. Like
They could burn on your
Saying you
turn
with the
though.
build, with the current build of Kill la Kill, and how I think it will shape against the Guardian matchup, Guardian has a hard time burning. And like
do you
it
realize
does
Guardian
burn,
is
it does
both
one
turns,
burn, which
right?
doesn't kill. Wait, sorry, what?
It's both turns, right? You
It
do
is
realize.
both turns, but you're like if you do the triple Shizuru, expecting to do at least, because you end up having to do triple Shizuru, right, to try to get one of the burns in. Because if you don't do triple, having just 1 or 2 cheese counters isn't like an impossible feat. So you have to do triple. And like
Why do cheese counters matter? You're the one attacking in. They'll burn on your turn.
no, because okay, keep in mind that the Musashi in Kill la Kill is actually like a pretty big glass cannon. Like if you have
but
to get the
so is
double.
The
She's
Caesar's also
13K.
huge.
Cheeser's a
Caesar's
13K.
13K.
Yeah, Yeah, that card passes it with a support, a global 5. Like,
you'll
counter. Okay, now if you have the counter, that's fine. But we've already established that Guardian on very.
No. You know that glass cannons. The glass cannon isn't bigger than Chizuru.
Can I finish what I was gonna say? Like, you just came in, man. Like, I love anime, dude. Let me just finish. All right.
Wait, sorry. What does the Chizuru do again? I can't remember.
3/2 10k healer. Both turns you can pay 2, ditch 1.
Pay 3.
Pay 3, ditch 1, burn 2, and then scry. Blue.
So, like,
scry top or bottom.
Wow, this is actually like the kind of deck that I would legitimately want to play Star Wars against.
You can challenge, right? You can challenge the Shizuru, and if they have to use the counter, they also cannot do like more Shizurus very likely of the time when they like get to this compressed state and like their Amagis and stuff got replaced by.
So you need to challenge 2 lanes, I think, right?
Yeah, but you still wouldn't die even if they burn you. You still wouldn't die a lot of the time, is what I'm saying. Like, you can even live. Like, even if you take a burn,
even
one. Like, the matchup is just pretty solid for Kill Kill. Kill Kill can beat Guardian.
What does Kill Kill do in the mid game?
The mid game, they just freaking sit
crash
on walls.
You can't get your on-reverse combo off. Like, you get it off in 1 lane usually,
yeah,
and you probably kill the other 2 lanes.
Side 7/5s. You like must side my 7/5s.
Not at level 2.
You did 2-1 to kill.
Not at level 2, but I've built. But then on the flip, I drop these early plays that have a combo that make them literally ginormous as titties as well.
I have a word. Okay, so like there are just assumptions here being made. What's the assumption as far as like who's hitting level 2 first, who's hitting level 1 first?
The back trade, there's a very even trade in the mid game for the decks. Assume the decks play the way they want to play. There's a very it's a very back and forth trade process.
How does the Rico early play climb high enough to kill a 2 on Lucia with the gloves counter?
Dude, it's like what? It's like what freaking?
It'd be like 15k.
It's like
Rico doesn't hit that level of power.
And then you Ryuko or Rico?
I'm talking
Ryuko hits like 14k, 16k with support, but the issue is who hits level 1 first, who hits level 2 first, and usually it's Guardian that hits those levels first, and at that point Kill Kill can't actually counter them.
Yeah, but
they just have to crash. Or side attack at level 1,
I will say there's one thing that makes this matchup favorable.
Combo.
Actually, there is one thing that makes this matchup favorable, and it is Kill Kill's penchant for running event counters. That is the one thing that possibly saves it from losing field in the matchup.
Yeah, but that's if Kill hits like level 1 first or level 2 first.
No,
otherwise, they just have to side attack.
I know you bought the Guardian deck, but buying a deck and playing it frequently is a huge difference because when Guardian hits level 1 first, it hits level 1 creating these fat fields of small characters. If it really wants to hit level 1 field, it always can. But it forces
you usually you always have one lane. You always have one lane that's small, but you usually have 2 Shizurus on field the time you hit level 1.
No, like if you want to do one of those forced level 1 situations where you have to take several damage, you actually have a lot of shitty characters on the field. You actually do.
Yeah, you just back
no.
Yeah, you do. That is what you do. But the thing is, like Riaz plays this deck probably more than a lot of you. He can testify to like the way the cards like the wave it works in. It doesn't work as solid. Like, oh, I'll always do that.
I do agree that you can find room to reverse Guardian's fields at level 1 typically, but I still don't see a solid advantage for Kill at level 2. I just don't see it.
But there's
how does Kill win there?
But look, there's no compelling reason that Guardian completely smashes Kill either. It's like literally a trade-off. It's one of those trade-offs.
But it's not a trade-off. It's bigger on defense. It'll rebuff. Like, it's bigger on defense. You have no recourse to kill the 2
Ryuko hits 16,000. If you didn't do double combo, you actually cannot glove counter it past it.
If you get your 2-1 assists that you run like in the toolbox is just really bad.
I don't know a single kill player that, if given the chance, wouldn't hold the marker underneath the global 5 until that level 2 because that's an extra point of compression. And like
you need the marker at level 1 usually for the reverses.
Oftentimes you actually don't. Like,
wait, you don't. Why would you need the marker?
Well, in the Guardian matchup, I guess you don't.
You don't. Yeah, you just clear their level 1. Like, they have to counter regardless.
Yeah.
And then you can, like, just by sliding the marker away, can buff something big enough, and you won't have 2 lanes of 2-1, you'll have 1, right? And you can easily kill that 2-1, and then
you can easily go for 2 lanes of 2-1.
Why would you not
go
have
for 2 lanes of 2-1? I can also play another global, slide that off, and then now I have both lanes that challenge you, and my cards just got an extra 500 from that extra global. It's like it's a very, very.
And where did you put that global?
In the front right,
like you also need
to place a global in the back, and then the.
So you're just losing a lane regardless, and then you're losing a lane to counter. Wow, that sounds very.
What are you talking about? Why am I losing a lane? There's no lane I'm losing. I can just side with it or do whatever, but my characters convincingly kill your characters, and like you lost your best characters that you invested in stock. Keep in mind, my character didn't lose a stock. Like I don't think you play the Guardian deck enough to understand these nuances, man. Like just straight up. The matchup is not in any way.
You have no idea how much I've played Guardian or how little I've played Guardian. That's like very
by what you say though. I can by what you say for scenarios, I know you don't play the deck enough. Like that's just don't pretend like you do something when what you say doesn't justify it. You know, like you know what I mean. I played a lot of Guardian, but I definitely did not play any Guardian of how it is now, and so I will not talk about the deck.
Yeah, that's like the issue.
I'm not talking about Guardian.
I'm playing a lot of Guardian recently because I'm like that's my deck for VGP likely. So.
Like I'm not sure what I'm not a princess with a pea under my bed, man. I'm just trying to talk about Weiss Schwarz. Like you know what I mean?
And let's stop that. Let's okay. So
this is a discussion between a sponsored player and his sponsor. Let everyone.
This is what people like in these things though. They like watching the dank drama. I'm just providing it.
I'm not denying this.
I'm glad Christian could make it.
Anyways, like if the conclusion that we're still drawing from Guardian is that it has no discernible weaknesses besides getting screwed by itself, then that's totally fine. That's like a reasonable argument for S tier, and it's a reasonable argument to bring it to a tournament. Because like if your goal is to win the tournament, fuck it, you have to high roll anyways.
I'm totally actually fine saying Kill is a less. I don't know. It is a play in a meta where Guardian is being played. I can accept that.
I don't think it's favored, but Kill is definitely a solid choice against Guardian compared to what other decks can do.
You get a metagame. If Guardian had any, what were the decks prior to Kimono Friends that Guardian didn't want to see? Did they exist? Were there none?
No.
Was it just Gochiusa?
Probably Gochiusa. You
couldn't.
I think like the Max Burns that burn decks like Telavru and Puyo and Chain Chronicle. So Chain Chronicle are like annoying for the deck because like even your compression, you're still taking
damage. So then we've come back to a point. Then, to an extent, Guardians is S tier, simultaneously a high roll deck, and hinges on Kimono Friends actually having metagame impact. These are the two conditions that will put Guardian into S tier effectively.
Well, no, I think Guardian is S tier regardless of whether Kimono makes an impact or not, but Kimono making an impact would help Guardian a lot.
My stance is
like to actually just be the top
if
deck. If
Kimono doesn't make an impact in the metagame, and decks like Telavru, Puyo, whatever, like the mass burn decks. Gochiusa is
by my reckoning, even if Kimono Friends didn't exist, then Guardian would still be a top 3, top 4 deck.
I think that's totally fair.
Yeah,
right?
but like the distinction we're making now is because Kimono Friends exists, it is the
S tier deck, right? This is a different point, right?
I think so. Yeah. I don't think there's anything that is as unaffected and as powerful, just in general.
These are all important disclaimers to include in this tier list, right? If we are making a claim that S tier is basically just rewrite as far as like actually going to see in a tournament, right? Like lands might be the best deck in Legacy. It doesn't mean you're going to see a lot of lands going to a Legacy tournament because that deck is outrageously expensive, right? And that's what I'm saying for Little Busters here.
Tabernacles?
I do.
There's a lot of lands running around now. People have had time to buy a Tabernacle.
Technically speaking, there is a hard cap on the number of people who can play lands, and that number is about 10,000. But that's besides the point. Anyways, this is mostly not talking about like ignoring Little Busters because of that. That was that point, right? So we've gotten to a point essentially where you've created a one metagame S tier deck or one deck S tier, right? Which is basically functionally for the purposes of WGP just rewrite.
I think it has the best matchup spread.
I'm not sure I'd go as far as putting just Rewrite in S tier, but I think Rewrite is the best deck.
We're gonna get to this in a moment. If we're saying Rewrite is the best deck in this current metagame, right? To an extent, its role as best deck does hinge, and this is the disclaimer, on Kimono Friends making a large enough impact to dissuade people from playing decks like Two-Lover, Puyo, the mass burn decks that are more popular in the Western world than Japan. This is part of the hinge, right? If Kimono Friends doesn't make that splash, you're probably looking at a 4-deck S tier.
Okay.
Right?
That's reasonable.
And in that 4-deck S tier, you still have to consider decks like Two-Lover.
And like Idolmaster.
Yes.
If Kimono Friends didn't exist, my top 4 would be I don't know. If Gotchus has still got to be up there, right?
Yeah, it still will be. But like this is important, right? Because one thing that we know about Kimono Friends is that it does have a very good anti-burn, but people have still been struggling with finding a build that feels good.
Well, we have builds that feel good, but we're not sure where to take them yet.
And
the lists aren't finalized.
And that's very important, right? Because if Kimono Friends' final build still doesn't feel good enough, then ultimately you're still going to end up in a metagame where Kimono Friends is irrelevant.
Yep.
And if that exists, then Rewrite doesn't get to be the best deck in the format for free.
I mean, what you also have to consider, like, this isn't like Magic where players that have the best, or where if there's a best deck in the format, the players will just play that best deck in the format, because players will just play the series they like, and Kimono Friends is kind of niche, I think.
Oh, no, it's pretty popular. Okay. It is really popular.
From the data of Strictly Broken TCG, it sold way too much and it cost so much back orders, so I like to disagree.
Okay.
Sure.
It is a fairly popular series. I'm not saying it isn't, but whether or not the people who are buying Kimono Friends are also the people playing at WGPs, that might not be the same crowd.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
All right.
Yeah. So just based on sales alone, that's not necessarily true. The pure disclaimer that I'm putting out there, because this is a very important part of the last 20 minutes of this video, right, is that Rewrite does hinge on Kimono Friends. Like, Rewrite as the S tier deck. Right now it is the only deck in S tier. Does hinge on Kimono Friends. If Kimono Friends doesn't pan out as well as people thought, as in either the deck has issues closing games, it has an awkward level 1, whatever, doesn't matter. If there is some sort of flaw with the deck that keeps it from being consistently good at what it does and winning games reliably, or, it's just an epic high roll deck, in which case, if you want to win a tournament, bring it anyways, right? The fact is, there are going to be decks that can contest Rewrite reliably. If you are not afraid of Kimono Friends, if you are willing to make that gamble, still bring decks like Two-Lover. They have good matchups across the field. I'm not saying this purely, like, it has decent matchups across the field. Or like Gochiusa, you can still do that. Right? Those decks would normally be in S tier. The reason why they're not is because people are making the assumption that Kimono Friends is making an appearance at WGP.
I never saw it that way, though. I appreciate that. I mean, that's...
Yeah, it's all based
on... That was really nice. I
actually think Two-Lover makes the S tier cut regardless, but...
Like, yeah,
sure.
I would go ahead and bold the decks that we think are S tier if Gochius or if Kimono Friends doesn't make an impact. I think that's enough of an indicator to prove to people, like, this is what matters. These are the decks that matter if this one metagame gamble doesn't pan out.
It's just so dicey because it's so new. The set basically came out right before the competitive season, right?
One thing that's a little bit weird, though, is, like, in my mind, because of the nature of Weiss sets being about 100, 120 cards, max, right? For new releases, unless you're talking about, updates.
But if we are talking about, if we are actually speculating, like, if we call Kimono Friends speculation, we can even put things like AOT in here, which look to be very, very good.
No.
AOT doesn't look to be good enough.
It's not a matter of if the deck looks good. It's actually entirely different than that. It's whether or not the deck has a meta-defining impact.
AOT looks just like... AOT looks actually better than Gochiusa, right?
But you see, is AOT doing something different?
No.
It actually doesn't matter if AOT is better or worse than Gochiusa. The thing is AOT doing something that actually warps the metagame? Kimono Friend has an anti-burn that's very, very impossible to interact with, basically.
Yeah. Well, look,
is
I'm
AOT bringing something to that level to the table, something that can warp the metagame like that, and it doesn't.
I think the way AOT designs its endgame, it's like the best it's actually the best one of the burn one archetype.
I think it's a little preemptive to say that.
I don't think we can.
To go choose a burn one, and to go choose a burn one.
That's not even. We don't know all the cards yet. We don't know what the deck's gonna be. Let's not talk about AOT because there are going to be tournaments being played before the set's even out.
I know, but hear this. It's like AOT makes it into the WGP season, so keep that in mind. There
are tournaments being played next week, starting next week.
Yeah.
Dude, the thing about the thing about Kimono Friends not having like a build yet, that's still going to apply to decks that release during the WGP season. Like these decks just aren't going to have established go-to builds like all these other decks that have been being tuned for months.
All right, okay, I got you.
So that's a huge factor. Like some individual cards may look promising, and you can draw parallels between these sets coming out and other powerful decks. But part of like getting to a good meta deck is time and testing. And
I also want to say
like time is very important when it comes to like getting these decks in during a competitive season, and that just may not be something we have enough of.
Logcrez and beats her? I don't know if that's still true, even with the power-up pet set.
I want to just mention something. I don't think Attack on Titan Set 2, based on the spoilers we've seen, is actually particularly good.
Star Wars does not get to make the list because Star Wars is not going to be legal for WGP.
No, I just told you where did Star Wars end up because there's a Similio finish and it didn't end up anywhere on the list.
It doesn't get to be on the list because it's not playable
that's
at WGP.
Because we can't play it at WGP.
That's not a drawable comparison too. They're actually a bit different, but I digress.
Again, they're not very different. They're not different.
The floor is better on the AOT one, yes.
Well, the AOT one also interacts with the event very favorably. It's just a different nature.
Star Wars has some funny tools though, with characters with anti-burn on them.
Yeah, but AOT can Star Wars can force characters from back row into the front, so you can dodge or rather not dodge.
Right, but it's Star not. Wars okay. But it's not WGP legal, so
yeah, it's not WGP legal, so it's not relevant.
Okay, Attack on Titan without the second booster, I don't think is a deck you'd really want to take.
I agree.
Honestly speaking, I don't know.
I'm just seeing you're missing Kisniver and BT.
Oh my god!
I'm literally going to Heart of the Cards right now and looking up Weiss sets again. This is what happens every time we make this video.
I don't know.
Cell World might be B tier.
Kisniver got better than Bang Dream.
Cell World might be B tier. I don't know if it's on the list yet.
So I think you just have to put it in front of Kisniver though for
No.
I'm putting them in exactly the same place.
Put Kisniver at green, red, blue because all other builds suck.
Okay, that's actually just being you. That's just not true. Please don't do that.
Talk to people that actually play Kisniver, and green, red, blue is the best build of the deck.
Okay.
Oh, let's not digress here.
Can we not talk about Kisniver?
God.
As far as I'm concerned, these are all the relevant decks that I can really think of, honestly. Right now. Yeah, basically that.
I think you can still
too soon, dude. Too soon, man.
Because I don't think there's anything notable that's missing right now, right? Is Vivid relevant? I don't think so.
Vivid's already here. Oh, you mean Vivid Red Operation? No.
Yeah.
Wait, why would you bring up Vivid Red Operation?
No.
Of all sets.
I don't know. Is this the first thing that I saw when I was scrolling up again?
Not even Shining Resonance.
What do you guys think about Leo? What do you guys think about Leo?
Where does Charlotte go?
Charlotte, I PTO.
Ilya might get the bold. Not bold in the sense that it's S tier, but bold in the sense that it.
No, Kaleidoscope isn't even played. That's
if Kaleidoscope's not played anymore,
I don't think Kaleidoscope is even a good high roll deck.
What do we think is the best high roll deck then? Is it
Kimono making
besides
a
Guardian?
splash just actually kills Kaleidoscope completely? The deck actually can't win against.
Yeah.
Kimono.
Isn't the best high roll deck hands down no doubt about it? Little Busters if it just high rolls.
Yeah, but it's not relevant because no one can buy the cards.
Yeah, it's almost as irrelevant as Star Wars, to be quite honest.
Star Wars is actually relevant.
I mean, there will be some number of Little Busters players.
Probably if they're not packing 2 souls, they can't high roll.
No, but they exist.
They are out there, but it's not a reliable thing.
I think we have 3 or 4 in Europe, but I don't think they'll play Little Busters for HP.
I thought I was out of the club.
One less now.
Wait, Chris, don't you have the deck?
I only have 2 souls.
Okay, sure. So,
you're not part of the cool club.
No, Terra's sold out. There's only 1.5.
Little Busters was my second
Tom had.
Tom has it?
Yeah, I've had it for a while. I've had it for like
Tom
2
had
years now.
his 2 souls before I did.
2.5 LP players.
Can we stop talking about how rich each other is and sucking each other off? Let's just fucking.
But you don't know how rich I am. How am I supposed to buy from StrictlyBrokenTCG.com? Y'all got more Marika SPs?
I need to become a patron on StrictlyBroken.com.
Well, thanks for
man. I'm giving you like $2,000 a month on Patreon, dude.
I bought 2
I
playsets
am
from
your
StrictlyBroken.com, and my quality of life has greatly increased.
We are greatly
Japanese Weiss Schwarz
dude, those Christian, those Sell It NB t-shirts.
Oh. I just want to say that like 28 Sell It NB t-shirts ended up getting sold, so I'm happy for the community.
Wait, 28?
God damn it.
Yeah.
I want a refund, dude.
Well, what you didn't say is that 8 of those got bought by me.
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Wait, are you having your own entourage? Is that what's happening? Wait, like you'll be in like a black shirt and 8 people around you.
I swear to God, if you get an email from Heart of the Cards asking if you're getting bullied, oh my God, I'm gonna lose it.
Oh gosh.
We're all wearing our Christian t-shirts for WGP, right?
If mine fits, sure.
I'm selling additional copies of it at my WGP.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
Oh,
like I think the list as is looks fine. Like, I don't think Dog Days is relevant. That's like.
Where's Contact? Okay. Is Contact here?
Yeah, Contact's there.
Oh, my heart.
Wait, where's Blue Rene?
Where's Contact?
It's in B in the bottom half.
Blue Rene. Wow.
Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay, I see it now.
I think Blue Rene is in B tier, right?
There.
Is it actually?
I don't think so.
Whatever.
Trying to take me. Where's Sal? Is Sal here?
Sal's here. Yeah.
Oh, it's an 8.
It's there.
Whatever. Even if we forget sets.
Like, the only thing I think that's debatable is you can bold Milky Holmes, I think. Especially if you consider Kemono making an impact.
Well, like, currently
isn't it kind of weird? Isn't the bold used to indicate if Komodo Friends is not there?
The bold is indicate if Komodo Friends is not there, these decks belong in S tier.
Okay.
It's not affected. Like,
Milky Holmes is just there.
Right. Is Fate there? I don't see Fate.
Fate's in
Fate Master is an 8.
Like, the thing is, I actually think Milky Holmes is better than Gochusa, but I think I'm probably the only one that thinks that.
Probably.
I don't think Fate is A tier though.
I don't think so either.
Yeah, Fate is probably just B tier, unless coin flip high rolls.
Yeah, but like if once you start getting into the realm of high roll decks, you have to start arguing like which high roll deck is the best high roll.
Yeah. I think Fate is fine in B tier.
What about Project?
And probably Prisma Iliad.
Oh my God, dude!
Like, I've played with
many rounds.
Set a lot, and it has issues.
Project Diva, Angel Beats, Crayon Shin-Chan.
Oh, Matsu, I see.
I mean, these would all go in C tier if we made a C tier.
Okay,
so basically irrelevant.
You should not play C tier decks. Like being straight up. Like if you're bringing a C tier deck to the tournament, the only reason why you're doing this is because you just really.
You might as well bring King of Fighters.
I'm just doing a double check. You guys don't think Simple Gear is anywhere in any tier? Like tierable, like BA?
No. Not before the new set.
I don't want to place it just because of the new set as well. It's like kind of ambiguous with that.
It's likely to end up in B tier. Maybe it hits A tier, but as of now, I think it's likely to just hit B tier with the new set.
Let's not talk about sets like that. Just
what's it called? All of the Alchemist cards are like triple, quadrupled in price. Man.
Alchemist is like F tier.
Dude, Alchemist is like A tier. A for Alchemist, man.
Okay, Alchemist is a high roll deck with like that gets nothing if it high rolls.
So it's a heal for one spot.
No. Like, well, I've played that deck with like 9 cards in memory, and it's like I still don't do anything.
I played with 12 cards in memory, and it's still kind of suffering.
Dude, but banishing cards is how you win in Weiss.
God,
That's what I learned from some random YouTuber.
I think the most I've seen anyone ever high roll was like he was borrowing my GST deck and he had 20 cards as markers under the 0/0 Kirito supports, and like 7 climaxes in deck.
I've definitely played Yellow Blue ReZero and gotten my deck to 8 and 8.
Jesus Christ.
That's a high roll.
It's perfection.
You just start 3-stocking random stuff.
Wait, why is Red Blue ReZero there? Please, let's not give the people the fucking misconceptions that Red Blue ReZero is a good deck.
Because people are going to play it. That's why it's there.
People are definitely gonna. Okay.
I think it's a valid inclusion in A tier.
Do you think Madoka's in B tier?
No.
No.
Do you think robotic? Okay, sorry.
Oh my god.
but Mr. Pleiades is a B.
I mean, you can play early plays with 1 stock, so I guess robotic notes has that going for it. I'm just trying to double check. Do you think
at this point we might as well just be putting PDF in S tier? Like,
do you think Zero no Tsukaima can hit B tier?
No.
Okay, well then I guess that's that we did a. Do you think Sengoku no Basara can hit B tier?
Oh my god.
I think Econo Basara can be high roll tier. If you hit 5 climaxes out of
No.
even if you high roll, you only get 2 attacks.
Yeah, but
It doesn't
you can
matter if
trigger
you win
2
the
climaxes and just kill the opponent from level 2.
Yeah,
It's
they'll
still
take like
terrible.
10.
Oh my
It's
god. It's a 2k1. How do you deal 10?
I think. Do you think the
trigger
gun
two-
shooter hits B
Trigger
tier?
2 souls.
Wait,
You have
say
a
what?
direct
You can
attack.
deal 9.
and
What?
trigger-
Sorry, you wait. What did you say?
Do you think a gun shooter hits B
No.
tier?
No.
I play more GST than anyone in
Oh,
this
do
call
you
combined.
think
like,
Phantom
everyone
hits B
combined.
tier, guys?
No.
Yes.
No.
I mean, no
In
one's
my
look,
heart.
Look, level 1 suiciders are not at all prevalent right now, so maybe Phantom is OP.
If Goji Usagi actually gets choked out of the meta, I'm gonna buy Phantom again. It's been a while.
Alright, you sold it.
Wait, so Phantom B
What-
tier?
what
Wait,
level- what-
Is Shioko B tier?
No.
No.
Okay.
What sets are even
No.
playing level 1 bombs right now?
Monogatari.
Okay, I think Phantom can actually
None
be
that
tier.
are relevant.
I think
Puyo and Sunshine.
Matsu?
Sunshine.
Puyo actually counts. Puyo counts.
Sunshine runs it.
Sunshine can run it. It is a
Kiznaiver.
viable option.
Kiznaiver runs them.
Yeah.
Persona 5 can run it.
That said, like I have a new
Wait,
what's the word?
Not
It's
even the Japan lists run level 1 bombs from
Like,
Persona 5.
Oh, I've seen things from.
Are we going to name drop more people?
Okay, so
Well, what about Index?
No.
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 Next is irrelevant.
The best index
Sadly.
cards go into Railgun. You just play Dragon Strike and Tomo.
man, that's such a weird reversal. It's such.
I mean, healing magic, as good as it is, is just not good enough.
Yeah, sure, but it is.
I mean,
also-
just like this time, was it
Well,
last year?
No, but
We're
like,
oh,
this time last year, it didn't have its power upset, and the best
No,
deck was.
You put Railgun
No,
cards
I'm
in
not-
index, and now
I'm
you
not-
put index cards
it's
in
just
Railgun.
really
You
But
funny.
need
like,
that.
also this time last year, like, 2-lever was still like, to an extent, one of the most undisputed. Like, not completely
Didn't we
undisputed.
have? We had to love animals in in the top 10 at some
but,
point.
yeah, animals is not playable. Right?
Oh, those
I
were
think-
the days.
I think animals can actually be B tier, probably.
No.
I think it's a fine deck. I think it's a fine
I
deck.
don't think it matters. Like, I don't
it's
think
not big.
I-
It's not
I
big.
played Kemono against animals, and it was kind of not that great. Because
If
animals
animals
has block kicks and anti-vent, but not. Well, animals could be B tier, but it's not like it has
It's-
to be
it's
there.
irrelevant if
It's
it's B tier
just-
anyways. Like, you're just gonna still
It's,
play
yeah.
it.
it's,
Yeah,
it's like
whatever.
on nobody's map.
Yo,
What
Shining
about-
Resonance
No.
B tier.
No.
Okay.
I think we've got one. What about Abyssals? What do you think about
No.
Abyssals?
Hmm.
Is that a real question?
No.
I think it'd be B
Here's a
tier.
real question.
That's the same as Kantai. If it goes into B tier, it is Kantai, so we're fine.
Yeah, it's already there if you want to call it. It's
Oh
like,
my god.
I don't.
Okay,
What
so-
about
I don't think
Google
Abyssal
Strike
specifically is any better.
My Hime and my Otomi?
No.
We'll
So
go
we're gonna
strike.
talk about the next.
So one year ago, we put Miku in S tier.
I'm pretty sure that was part of the Samson Chow meme.
You know that might become
Parentheses
true.
Samson.
We can make an Samson tier and put PDF there.
And Melty.
Oh God.
Okay. Look,
Were we idiots?
yeah.
Or
I
I
was
would
in Tri-Field a year ago, so
We're
I mean,
still idiots. It hasn't changed.
All right. So long story short, play one of the decks in A tier or above, and you're probably okay. I think. Yeah. No, all these decks look
as
fine.
long as you don't copy lists from Japan.
No,
That's
some of the
not
Japan
even
lists-
true, man. Like, have you
Japan-
looked at every Topping America list? Like,
Oh, let's not
Dude,
talk
every
about
time I'm like
American
looking at fun
lists.
Magic lists, I just go to Japanese lists because they play the
Well,
weirdest shit.
Magic is
I'm-
different. Magic is
no.
different.
But like, it's really funny though because it's the exact same thing. Like what happens in Weiss for Japanese lists as it does in like Magic for Japanese lists. Japanese people are insane.
how many people
You-
are playing
people talk,
Opt in
bro.
Japan?
What?
No, real talk though. The best railgun list I've ever seen is a Japanese list.
Oh, I'm not saying that what they're doing is necessarily wrong. They're just insane.
Oh, I'm just when you say
I'm
that
saying
for
what
some
they're
reason
doing
my
is
brain
wrong,
was
but-
like, how many copies of Opt do they? play
Your
in
brain
Japanese?
tingles.
It's
I
like
think
it's like where you found Mono Black Depths Reanimator. That was Japan because Japan is insane.
Okay, sure.
Well, their GPs always have very interesting topping lists.
Well, there's also
Which
the
is
one dude who
fine.
plays Sansa Poise, so like whatever.
So
they're
that's
the gods of high rolling, man. They're just the country who like
Like-
rolling is their how they play the game.
But like,
I think in Magic,
wait, it's so funny that you say like
their
Japan
lists
plays
are
the high
pretty
roll, but
good,
they
but-
also like heavily emphasize this level 2 early play healers because the whole plan
I know.
is to stabilize
Well,
it too.
the point is to stabilize. You have to high roll because you have to cancel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That stabilizing is actually ironically the most high roll mentality
Yeah,
ever because it's like
High
Anyways,
rolling.
Yeah, it's so hard to truly stabilize in Weiss.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like you can make a play with the intention of stabilizing, but you will not have known if it pays off or not till your next turn, basically.
Until you're dead.
Like, if I'm playing a big and I have 16 stock and 2 money counters, I still don't feel like I've stabilized.
Anyways, it's just a thing. Like, I don't know. Like you're trying to win a tournament, you have to high roll. It doesn't matter. You have to high roll.
Yeah,
Yep.
no matter what deck you're playing. Or
And
no
that's
matter what
why
you're
LB is just like the best deck ever. By 2 souls.
No, that's why I think you should play your favorite anime. Your favorite
Buy my
deck.
2 souls.
Represent your waifu.
yo, Chris, I'll
Alright.
buy your 2 souls at 40% of what they're worth.
That's
Fuck
freaking
you.
terrible.
That's like 2k yen.
For like,
Okay.
especially for how quote unquote liquid they are. That's a
They're
terrible
liquid?
rate.
Are you kidding me? They're not liquid at all. You have
They
to find
sell out
those-
very quickly though. That's the thing. It's not demand, but whenever they do come up, people are waiting to buy them.
That's because there are crazy people like me.
Like Scott Cohen.
Oh my
No,
god.
like I think the last time 2 souls got put up on foray and they sold in like 5 hours.
That's not that liquid. Do you know what's
That's-
liquid? Cards that
that's
sell like
pretty-
10
You know what's liquid? Max TP.
Yeah, that's very liquid, I assume.
It's
Only
so
because-
liquid that some
Right.
stupid Canadian tried to buy max rarity TP deck from some Australian
Until you
dude.
realized the deck was shit.
That Australian dude tried to like cuck me. I will not take that, you know. He's
Yeah,
like,
he tried to cuck you by selling you TP.
no, he's like, you have to buy my Minami SPs. I'm like, I don't even want to play Minami. He's like, you have to buy them, and I just stopped talking.
That's so weird.
It's funny.
I'm like, I'm your fucking customer. Don't tell me what I want to buy.
Okay. Look, all
He
these
probably
people-
thought you were actually an idle fag and was trying to like prey on your emotions.
I thought UA was an idol.
He clearly is. But look, points aside, we've got this tier list now. It's going to sit here. People are going to look at it and criticize it and say we're stupid for not putting Persona and Railgun in S tier because they're the best decks that they've ever played. But this is all our opinion. Well, this like a lot of it's my opinion because I'm the one who's been typing all this crap out. And it seems people aren't really disagreeing with a lot of it. So I guess it's our collective opinion. Take that as you will.
Yeah, it's a circle jerk.
I mean,
Yeah.
this
Our
is,
inbred.
Yeah,
tier list.
Our inbred non-Japanese meta.
Yeah.
Jerk.
Like we have like Europe, Canada, Australia. Well, actually not really Australia because Alf doesn't actually play anymore. But we have
I
like a
actually
bunch of
don't.
opinions here.
Played Slavru earlier. It felt pretty rude.
I mean, I played Star Wars earlier. That was fun. I just couldn't stop drawing climaxes.
I don't
I
know.
real talk, I haven't been playing because I actually
Oh,
You play the Han Solo deck all the time.
No, I was playing lightsaber.
I
was playing lightsaber for fun.
I don't know if anybody mentioned it yet, but Lover is the most unaffected of the other maybe S tier decks in terms of Kemono Friends, because it still has the hexproof support and it still has money counter.
Wait,
it just has hexproof attackers.
It just has hexproof attackers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hexproof kind of does a number on.
It can't be.
Puyo has the Puyo has the hexproof support.
Yeah.
LB has the
LB also has hexproof support.
But like, I don't know. Now you're just playing like dude that goes sideways and do nothing.
Yeah, but
you have money.
Friends doesn't do anything different.
I guess
you can
you
only need to have
okay,
two hexproof attackers to make tap counters worthless.
I'm not disagreeing that it is least affected, but I still think like if you know where you're going has Kimono Friends, like it's probably not a great pick.
Well, it depends on your choices, right?
Sure.
You're not even
there's
sure
a lot
that you're gonna play against Kimono, so.
Yeah, but like if you have access to every deck and you somehow land on 2 Loveru when you know you're going to a place with Kimono Friends, I don't know.
You think Delovers play more like an extra copy of a healer now? Like, I know people are simplifying it down to like 2 or 1, but like.
Well, Gochus is definitely gonna play 1 more healer now.
I mean,
I'm not sure about the Lover. I don't think so.
I don't think the 2 Lover list wants to play more than 2 anyways, because
Yeah.
like, you're already capped. You're playing like 1 or 2 mana anyways, built to help you find the climax in those dire situations where you didn't find the top 6. Oh man.
I actually found it on the 11th card in a 4 in 24 decks once.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, and that happens, and that's why you play the 1 of Maya at least.
Yeah.
Usually.
What if we go Bren Olet mode and play 3
No,
Yami?
we're not being Bren.
We're not being Japan, sorry.
Yeah. Again, like
3 Yamis too. I didn't know that.
max on Yami. Why
they're
would you
playing
not
two
max on
Fukas
Yami?
Wait, actually, that was Singapore. Sorry.
All right. Look, we've got this now, and we can probably close the cast out because I'm sure it's done like 2 hours or something, and we're making Will edit this because
I'm pretty sure it's going 3 hours because you
It's about 3
messaged me at 9
I mean, does that mean I get my time to shine?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Innervate gives you 1 mana instead of 2. Spreading Plague costs 6. Fiery War Axe costs 3 instead of 2. Hex costs 4 instead of 3. Burlock War Leader no longer buffs 1 health. What does this mean for Hearthstone?
Oh wait, there's one thing I want to mention about this. I think no Hearthstone player even mentioned at all. I think the fact that Hex costs 4 is actually huge for a future Elemental Shaman deck, because you actually can't go Hex and then the Legendary anymore, because Legendary is 7 mana, right? Like that just kills off the option of Hex and then 7 mana Legendary. That's big, man.
Well, I mean, they say in their article that the nerf to Hex is kind of like a future-proofing thing.
Yeah.
They don't say there's any particular reason why they nerfed Hex, which is like really fucking weird. They also said something about like they felt like Shaman doesn't have identity.
Dead Man Hand Warrior.
Shut the fuck up, Will. This is my segment.
If you're not winning from fatigue, you're not doing it right.
Okay, I lost to Dead Man's Hand Warrior the other day. I was so fucking mad.
Dude, those games go for like 40 minutes.
Yeah, he was doing absolutely nothing, and we were both really close to fatigue, and I was like, okay, nothing bad will happen to me.
Dead Man Hand.
And he plays Dead Man's Hand, and I'm like, oh, I lost.
Have you ever seen a game of Hearthstone draw?
Yeah, it draws at like 50 turns or something.
It's like 49 turns, but like Dead Man Hand versus Dead Man Hand, those games are guaranteed to draw. If Dead Man Hand Warrior becomes part of the metagame, oh no.
Yeah, I'll never play it. I like Pirate Warrior.
Because if it does have a bad Pirate Warrior matchup, but if Fiery War Axe is getting nerfed, it might not be that bad anymore.
I wish that Fiery War Axe didn't cost 3 mana. I think that's kind of stupid.
You know what's interesting? That Legendary that buffs all your weapons by 1 attack. They're trying to play that now, because now you can curve that card into War Axe, where before you had to like basically play it off curve, which really sucked dick. Like, because now you can go turn 2 that Legendary.
You're talking about like the Captain Greenskin, right?
No. Greenskin gives your equipped weapon +1/+1. This other Legendary
the
gives
all whatever gives all weapons in your deck +1. I think.
Deck in hand, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
It gives it +1 attack, not +1 durability.
So the curve is like that curve play is actually not bad, you know. So who knows? Maybe you'll
Yeah,
play one.
but like the biggest advantage of Fiery Warhawks was that like your turn 2 play was either like generically speaking armor up or equipment anyways, because like you might not even be attacking.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I think it's unfortunate.
Like I think it's a pretty big blow to the deck.
Fireworks was by far the best weapon in the game, so I think it makes sense that they're
Wait, are you still casting?
Bro, have you never?
Yes.
Have you never? Man, I can't even meme. I couldn't think of another weapon fast enough.
The shaman weapon, the 1/3. What's it called? The claws.
Pre-nerf Spirit Claws.
Yeah.
Spirit Claws was stupid.
But wait.
Also,
What is this build on the metagame?
I'm a fan of Frostmourne.
Kazaka's Priest is probably going to be the best deck baseline. Like that's the new S tier.
I actually stopped playing before Frostmourne came out, so I don't know what
Druid
the does.
Druid.
It's a card you get from the Lich King. Lich
J
King is
Druid
basically
gets the
Ysera,
stay
where it
S
gives you
tier,
broken cards.
And then Deadman Hand becomes a real deck in this
it's
format.
a toss, right? Between J Druid and the Priest deck. They're like both like.
Can Kazaka's Priest beat J Druid?
No, it can't. It's like 50-50. It's like solid.
I think it's up to luck.
It's less luck.
Wait, how does any control deck beat Jade Druid?
Kazaka's Priest like fucking burns phase really bad.
They also have Geist, which is like pretty good.
I think Skulking Geist, if you can, there are situations.
I don't know all these
Geist,
cards. I need to look.
Okay, Skulking Geist kills all
one drops.
one drops in both players' hands and decks.
So it destroys all copies of Jadao.
Yeah.
Ah, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so generally, if you're playing against a player who you think is playing Skulking Geist, you just make the dudes right away to up your Jade count. But sometimes you just don't draw the idols and you lose 2 Jade count because of it. So you can't even try to like
you
tempo
cap
out
out
with
7/7.
slightly bigger
Yeah,
guys.
no, like I understand how they can lose if they don't have Jade Idols. I didn't know this card existed.
On the other hand, Deadman Hand Warrior cannot beat Jade Druid at all. That will not happen.
Yeah, because neither deck decks out. Well, I mean, if you're playing the Deadman Hand deck with the intention of going to fatigue,
Geist.
you're definitely
Okay. Let's call it to an end here, and I'm gonna.
Okay, we haven't even spoken about spreading plague of Murloc War Leader, Alf.
I don't need to play Hearthstone.
I still think the Murloc deck is bullshit.
Well, I think Midrange Paladin is dead. Like, you are so much worse against, like, Warrior in particular, as well as Holy Nova. Like, Holy Nova gets so good now that Murloc War Leader gets nerfed.
Okay. Guys, but Shadowverse has a Fates tie-in. So let's talk about that, because I haven't played that in months, and I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Innervate is the coin now. This is bullshit.
Yeah, Innervate's just a basic coin for Druid, because counterfeit coins can rotate, and rogues can't have nice things.
I mean, but like, I don't know. Like, obviously, rogues would prefer to have counterfeit coin, or would prefer to have Innervate to counterfeit coin. But I think having more copies of the coin is better for how most rogue decks end up being.
It still has Prep. That's like a super Innervate. It's whatever.
Prep is a very stupid card. I love it.
But Prep is really awkward sometimes.
I mean, doesn't matter if you don't get full value off of it.
Fair.
The best moments in Hearthstone are when we put a Gadget Zan down in Miracle, and then you do the first prep, and then you whiff off the first prep, and then you just lose the game.
Dude, I prep Mimic Potted into Valera the Hollow today. That was so sick. 2 Death Knights, 2 turns of stealth.
That sounds like so medium.
Okay, I'm going to pull a timestamp, and I'm going to tell people they can skip to it if they want to skip the Hatstoner memes. But look, we're going to call this a cast here. You guys can keep memeing. I need to go eat dinner.
No, fuck it. Do you even know the implications of spreading plague on 6 instead of 5?
Yes, a bunch of Hearthstone nerds are going to just go nuts. That's exactly what's going to happen. Anyway, look, this has been a bunch of us here at Top Tier Tiers, quote-unquote sponsored by Strictly Broken. I didn't even get a free t-shirt. Like, these guys aren't actually sponsored.
Dude, I even did, like, some programming stuff.
If anything, I'm sponsoring Strictly Broken because I'm a member of their Patreon.
Yeah,
you could be a member of their Patreon and earn exclusive content, deals on sealed product and playsets, and you will be entered into giveaways each month. In fact, I just received a playset of triple rare level 3 owls from Kimono Friends. So basically, the money I've given to Strictly Broken has already come back to me. Isn't that amazing?
It's down economics.
These raffles are rigged.
Shill. They call me a shill, and then they do this.
Well, anyways, to answer this, Alf, and Will, and Chris, you guys are getting the generic black, the white Strictly Broken TCG T-shirt mailed to you. Like, it's gonna have.
How are you actually gonna send this to me? You don't even know where I live.
Well, I'm gonna need your address at some point. It's a good thing.
Oh, be watch out.
Okay, good beats. You want to buy stuff? StrictlyBrokenTCG.com. Look, if you're still here with us, if you sat through Hearthstone, I applaud you. But if you're here for Weiss content and you skipped here because I told you to skip here, then thanks for listening. Look, drop us a subscribe, a like, a dislike, whatever you want. Argue with us. Tell us your Green Prism Ilya build is the best. Tell us Talavru is a D tier deck and we shouldn't play it. Do whatever you want. Look, discussion's great. That's what we encourage. That's what we want.
Aliens is a D tier deck, to be fair.
We just made a restock on our site of Rewrite Anime as well as Ilya Zway Hurts, like a complete case restock of both these sets. So come pick them up. That's it.
Yep. So look, that's it from us. Let us know in the comments what you think about it. This is like a regular thing now. It's not particularly it's not regulated. We kind of talk.
We literally started with a schedule and just said do it.
Oh, well, no, we kind of stuck to the schedule. It's just...
No, I'm not saying we did not follow the schedule. We had a schedule. That was our entire guideline.
We had a lot of good discussion.
Yeah, no, it was good. Look, if you're still with us, thanks. Good beats. We're happy to have you, and we're happy to keep on doing this stuff. We'll do the Kimono Friends cast at some point in the future. I am unfortunately quite busy, as are a lot of our other people here.
Yeah, unfortunately, I graduated and now have a job.
Yeah, and I just straight up have a job, which really sucks. But yeah, for all of your meme purposes, you can hit us up on in the comments here. You can hit us in most of the major Facebook groups or in the major Discord channels. For Weiss Schwarz global community, a few of us admin the site. If you want to see anything, you can probably contact us there, or you can contact your.
Apparently, some of these people live in Kit's Discord.
Yeah, they can do that as well. And I said earlier that we're shunning Connor because he went off to join Kit's side. No, that's cool. Like I've listened to Kit's podcast with J Dubs. I think it's Julian something or other. I've forgotten his last name. Sorry, man.
I'm sure his podcast isn't nearly as meme worthy as ours.
Well, they do good work. Like they talk the talk.
Nobody played Dota this time.
No, there was 100% less Dota than that one cast that had Dota.
Speaking of Dota, you wanna?
No.
Oh,
I was playing Grand Order through most of that Hearthstone discussion, but I'm just farming, so you know.
Why aren't you playing Hearthstone?
Dude.
Because I'm still on dongle internet, and
no one has as good as drama as me and Chris fighting.
Uncle Butts hashtag 7178 hit me up on Discord.
My favorite part, by the way, of this Chris UA fighting is that you sponsor him.
Alright.
Doesn't mean anything's gonna change.
No, it just it just amazes me that this is like a mutually beneficial sponsorship that's like based on people just like constantly yelling at each other.
Dude, it's like my parents.
So who's
that's
the bottom?
Weiss though. What is it if not people constantly yelling at each other?
Dude, I think it's just me and Christian yelling at each other. It's like such a marketable meme that it's just if it doesn't exist, it's.
I mean, that's why his face is on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I just want Warlock to be good.
By the way, this was not consented by me. I didn't get asked or anything.
I think you're misunderstanding what a sponsorship means. I own the right to your face. Like that's what it means, dude.
Is that like a sex thing?
Well, yeah, like okay, I'm not gonna speak on behalf of the porn industry, but I'm not sponsoring Chris for porn, but like, it's like once you come into one of these things, like we can do things with your face. That's the whole point of it.
Sure.
But not like pornographic things with your face, okay?
That's for your private time.
Okay, I hope that wasn't on the free.
Well, no, it is. All right.
Oh, I love that.